Welcome, I'm Terry Christensen and this is Valley Politics. Today we'll talk with Bonnie Mace and Megan Medeiros, two of the leaders of the June campaign against San Jose Measure B and in favor of Measure C. They were outspent 60-1 by the other side as voters in San Jose were barraged by mailings and TV ads. Bonnie and Megan will tell us how their grassroots coalition overcame the big money campaign of the developers. Later, Giao Tran will tell us about the good work of the Asian Law Alliance. Then on Where Are They Now, we'll continue our interview with Ron James, who was mayor of San Jose from 1967 to 1971. In this segment, Ron talks about changes in city politics that precipitated the departure of Dutch Hammond, San Jose's powerful, longtime city manager, and how the position of mayor began evolving towards what we know today. All this next on Valley Politics. Welcome everyone, and welcome Bonnie Mace and Megan Medeiros. So we're going to talk about San Jose Measures B and C. Tell us what they were about.
Thank you so much, Terry, for having us on your show. We're really excited to be here. Measure B was put on the ballot by a few billionaire developers hoping to rewrite San Jose's general plan to basically line their pocketbooks. What it amounted to was 900 luxury homes in a gated community that skirted San Jose's affordable housing requirements. Because it's an initiative, they didn't have to do environmental review. And really it just set this dangerous precedent for land use planning across the state, where rather than going through the normal community development process, developers could basically pay for a really, beautiful marketing campaign, put $6 million into it and call it a day, side skirting the community. We were really concerned about it. The entire environmental community was really concerned about it, and we'll talk about that later. Measure C, if you want to talk a little bit about that as well, it was put on the ballot by the city of San Jose to basically counteract Measure B. Measure C basically reaffirmed San Jose's general plan and reaffirmed San Jose's commitment to affordable housing and building housing in the urban part of San Jose rather than sprawling.
And part of the issue here was shifting land zoned for jobs or employment purposes to housing. And San Jose has a shortage of jobs relative to other cities around here, which weakens our tax base. So taking that land away and shifting the use has a really significant impact. And as you say, it has repercussions all around the boundaries of San Jose. Bonnie, how did you get involved with this? Why did you get involved with this?
So I've been working in the city of San Jose in a variety of capacities for almost 20 years. I've been redistricting commissioner and
in the city, not for the city. You're not an employee.
No, I'm not an employee, but working with the city and being a community advocate. I'm an elected representative in my area of Evergreen. And the thing that really brought me to the table was my concern not only about Evergreen, which is my home area, but also about the city as a whole, because as Megan pointed out, this wasn't just about these homes in Evergreen. What it was about the undermining of San Jose's general plan, and really this was something that could be applicable to the entire region. So if San Jose fell here, then this could spread across the region and across the state. So it was something that I was really concerned about. I knew the political landscape, I knew the players, and I had to be involved with Megan in this.
And Megan, you're with Committee for Green Foothills. Why was the Committee for Green Foothills concerned about this?
Yeah, so Committee for Green Foothills, along with really the entire environmental community, including Greenbelt Alliance, Audubon Society, Sierra Club, the list goes on, was extremely concerned when we first found out about Measure B, just because it changed the entire landscape for organizations like ours that work on land use, that represent the public through the normal community benefit process, where there's environmental review, where we can work to get community benefits with neighbors, where we can get, it took the public out of the picture of land use planning and instead made land use planning a marketing campaign rather than something that our elected decision makers and the public had any power over. So I engaged, and because of that, it was a hard campaign to enter because we were told that we were going to lose when we first found out about it in the fall of 2017. And I was really hesitant about taking charge. But when I looked around and I saw just there were dozens of people like Bonnie who were so committed and just ready to take action. It was, and I'm a community organizer at heart. It was so easy then to take charge, even though we almost knew that there was no. It felt like we had no chance. But we decided to roll up our sleeves and do all that we could anyways.
Well, a lot of people thought you had no chance, and I have to tell you, I was one of them. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Although I endorsed no on B and yes on C. It was such an uphill battle for you all.
Yeah.
Your opponents outspent you 60-1. I think they spent between $6 and $7 million. Again, outspent you 60-1. The residents, voters, were barraged with mail. It was almost daily. It was on the television, local television news every night, multiple ads, yes on B, no on C. The ads were deceptive. They were lies in some cases. It was supposed to be about affordable housing when it really wasn't. It was going to be for veterans when it barely would be. It was going to be for seniors, but you had to be a rich senior to take advantage of it. It was going to help with traffic. It probably would have exacerbated traffic. There were all sorts of ways it was deceptive, and also just overwhelming in terms of the volume of media. How did you beat them? Because you did. You beat them big time. So the vote on yes was 59%. I'm sorry, the vote on no on B was 59%, and yes on C was 61%. So that's really significant. Over the predictions of so many pundits who turned out really didn't know what they were talking about and really underestimated the voters of San Jose, I think.
So we knew that we were going to win from the start, and we knew that we were only thought of as the underdog, and this is why. Because we knew that they were going to, despite the air campaign that they were going to do, they were going to basically barrage voters with mailers. We knew that already, but we had the strong ground campaign, and the thing that really...
Explain to viewers what a ground campaign is.
So to me, there's basically 4 parts. Well, there's 3 parts of this campaign that led to our success, and Megan can chime in with how she feels about it. I was the endorsement chair, right? So the first part was the prequel. The prequel was all the work that we had done as neighborhood leaders in our community and our districts and across the city, right, with environmental groups for years and years and years. We were deeply embedded in the community, and we knew what the community was interested in and how we could appeal to them from a ground level, right, not from the air level. And then the second part was the field campaign, the door knocking, the phone banking, the really getting out, and our opponents just couldn't do that. No matter how much money they spent, they were never going to beat us on the ground, and that's really how we did it. And also, just as a funny side note, after a while, the market was saturated with mailers, and people actually, voters, when I knocked on doors, they told me they were angry at receiving so many mailers time after time without anybody actually coming up to talk to them in person. So I think actually we weren't really the underdog in reality.
Yeah, no, the David and Goliath aspect of the campaign actually I think really helped us because it motivated our campaign to do everything we possibly could. I remember sitting 15 minutes before the election results came out, turning to Brian Schmidt with Greenbelt Alliance saying, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And he's like, we did every single thing we could, and we really did. For 7 months straight, we were very nimble in our campaign, constantly reevaluating, and they really only had one strategy, and that was spend as much money as they possibly could to reach voters. And I think voters are more thoughtful now, and they know when they're being marketed to. And I think the upside for our campaign is that the more you knew, the easier it was to vote no. They really had no real campaign, any kind of message in their favor, because it was so clear that the message around seniors and veterans was a total deception, because we had seniors and veterans saying that this wasn't going to help them.
Do you know how many mailers they did?
They did anywhere between 15 and 20 mailers.
And how many did the No on B campaign do?
So our campaign, the grassroots our committee, we actually didn't send any mailers. The mayor ended up having a candidate-led committee, the Yes on C, No on B committee, and he ended up sending, I think, 2 mailers through that campaign.
So 16 or so to 2.
Versus 2, and I think our 2 went to a smaller group of folks.
I got
it was hyper targeted.
Yeah, probably really high propensity voters. And
and they were very shallow. The key really was that they had a very shallow campaign. Right? They had a money campaign. They had a campaign that focused on things as opposed to people. We had a campaign that focused on people, and people who people knew.
Yeah.
right? Our campaign was all about like to like. Get people that you know to tell you something and you'll believe it, and that was how we won.
Yeah, I think social media played an important part in your campaign as well. Getting emails or Facebook posts from people you know, not from Ponderosa Homes or whatever their fake committee was called, but getting those messages. And I don't know how many I got, because I'm on a lot of I'm sure you're both on a lot of email lists too, and I know you're on my email list, so you got a couple from me.
Yep. Thank you for that, by the way.
It was little, but I think Bonnie's observation about the community infrastructure is really important. Long established over time between people who know each other.
Yeah.
Who were some of the key players besides you? You've mentioned some of the environmental groups. Who were some of the other key players, institutional, organizational, individual, that helped with this campaign?
Good governance organizations like AARP, the League of Women Voters. We had the entire San Jose City Council and the mayor. We had the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, Libertarians were coming out.
That was very important.
Yes,
both of the
that was very
major
important
political
to have the major political parties, and we spent a lot of time, Meg and I, on messaging, because we wanted to make sure, it was really important for us that everything be a coalition. We didn't want anyone to say, I'm not a part of this coalition. We wanted to make the Republicans comfortable, the Democrats comfortable, and the millennials, the environmentalists, the affordable housing advocates, right? Everyone needed to be comfortable with the messaging.
Chamber?
The chamber was neutral.
The chamber was not. The Silicon Valley Leadership Group was with us.
And labor was?
Labor was neutral.
Labor
was neutral.
But once, as I was saying before, once the AARP and League of Women Voters came on board, we knew that we had a solid campaign, because as good governance organizations, very rarely do they endorse. So the fact that we could go around and say, this is Evergreen Senior Homes Initiative, and ARP opposes it, it was phenomenal for us, really.
Yeah.
And back to Bonnie's earlier point, I do think the other side indulged in overkill, and that turned people against them, both the volume and the message, because I knew a lot of people who were really angry about them, especially veterans.
Veterans are very angry.
Were super angry and motivated. Pretty conservative Republican friends of mine were just shaking their fists and going red in the face over that issue. Looking at the map, it's interesting, the split. So it was 59% no on B, but that 59%, the precincts that were strongest were a circle around some parts of San Jose, basically east side and south side districts 5 and 7. What do you think happened there?
Yeah, so I've talked to our campaign manager, Jordan Eldridge, and our field director, Kat Baumgartner, a bit about this. And when they saw those final results, they were like, oh my gosh, that is exactly our precinct map. That is where we walked. So that's where we targeted voters. That's where we were door knocking. That's where we were calling. So we really think it's because of our strong...
Why did you not target 5 and 7?
So we were really concerned. Our message was really strong. Our message was that this is a citywide thing, and we were really concerned about Coyote Valley. We were really concerned about Almaden. We were really concerned about Everett. We were concerned about the foothills, the ring around the city, and the environmentalists tend to, are very strong in that district area, right? So when we targeted, we knew we had limited feet, right? So we were going to target those likely precincts and likely voters who would support that message of let's have affordable housing and let's have open space. Right? We wanted to be sure we weren't NIMBY, so that was kind of how we targeted, and those were the districts: 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. Those were the districts.
But we were also in District 5 and 7. I know I was walking in District 7 whenever I was walking, and we did actually get a lot of voters there. It wasn't that it was this...
People in those districts might have bought the affordable housing argument, because that's a bigger concern, a very big concern in those areas. I'm wondering what this experience bodes for the future. Bonnie, you mentioned a concern about other things like this happening in the region or statewide. Do you think that's likely?
I do think it's likely, and actually, the advantage that we had was that Measure K in Tracy was the prequel to this, right? So in 2015, Ponderosa Homes did Measure K in Tracy, and they won by 78% of the vote, and it was a very, very, almost identical kind of a measure, right? Senior homes, et cetera. And so that was the first salvo in this sort of idea around the state that developers could go to the ballot box in areas with cities that had ordinances that were more slow growth, right? So, so the fact that this failed here doesn't necessarily mean that this won't happen in the future, because developers are looking for unconventional ways to skirt around, as Megan said, some of the slow growth ordinances that are in many of our cities, right? So I'm anticipating the next blow will come somewhere else.
One of the challenges for people active in local politics is we get so isolated or so focused on just our community, when things that are happening in Tracy can be important precursors, and we could really learn from each other a lot more. Megan, we have about a minute left.
Oh, wow, that was quick.
Yeah, you did go fast, didn't it? Your Committee for Green Foothills, what are you going to be focused on for the future of land use here in Santa Clara County?
Well, I just wanted to say, that the Measure B campaign, I think if developers take nothing away, it's to not try this again in San Jose. So just to sort of follow up Bonnie's point, we are even more united we already had a strong base of people, and now we are united in our general plan and the desire to protect our general plan. So it's all especially with the just overwhelming support for Measure C, it's very clear that San Jose wants to see San Jose stop sprawling. So, when it comes to future work for Committee for Green Foothills, it's continuing to promote developing in urban areas and protecting our important open space lands.
Well, congratulations to you both, Bonnie Mace, Megan Medeiros. Thank you for being with us today. Wish we had more time.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Terry.
That's great.
Now on Community News, here's Giao Tran of the Asian Law Alliance.
Hi, my name is Giao Tran, and I serve as the Outreach Coordinator at Asian Law Alliance. We're a nonprofit legal organization that provides free, pro bono legal services to low-income populations. Asians and Pacific Islanders today continue to be denied fundamental rights, and we open our doors to anyone who's limited in English, doesn't understand the legal system, can't afford legal fees, and faces the realities of discrimination. We may be able to assist you if you seek a lawyer related to an issue in housing, public benefits, immigration, citizenship, domestic violence, victims of violent crimes, and civil law. For a free legal consultation over the phone, you can call us Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 408-287-9710. If you want to volunteer, you can also give us a call. Again, that's 408-287-9710. To support our work, you can donate on our website, www.asianlawalliance.org. Thank you for listening.
Next, on Where Are They Now?, we continue our interview with Ron James, the first directly elected mayor of San Jose in modern times. Before Ron was elected in 1967, mayors were chosen by the city council, not the voters. Ron served just one term, 1967 to 71, but it was a time of considerable change for the city, and he was at the heart of it all. Later, he was the longtime leader of the San Jose Chamber of Commerce. Here's Ron. So is that shift to more mayoral leadership part of what led Dutch Hammond to resign in '69?
No, that was his decision. That was his decision. And fortunately, he didn't leave the area. He stayed around and helped us with our bicentennial when we celebrated the nation's bicentennial in '76 and then the city's bicentennial in '77. So he was chairman of that whole bicentennial program.
But the council was changing, and there was more opposition to him on the council, and then of course you as a leader, as an elected mayor, so it probably wasn't quite as comfortable for him being city manager as it had been for most of his tenure.
Well, I don't know. That could be, but he never expressed it to me.
Yeah.
But he'd been 19 years in the saddle, and he did a good job.
Yeah. Anybody has a right to retire at that point. While he was manager, during those 19 years, and during your first years on the council, San Jose was notorious for rapid growth, and remember the Stanford study called San Jose Sprawling City, urban sprawl. There was a lot of criticism of the way San Jose grew at that time. In retrospect, do you think it could have been done any other way?
No.
No.
No, some city had to be the dominant city. I mentioned competition a minute ago. People don't realize the competition between cities for a tax base. And whether you're talking about Santa Clara, who had an excellent city manager by the name of Don Von Racefield.
Who was there for, I think, 24 years.
He was a good competitor, too. But you had Milpitas, you had Campbell, and you had the county in those days had a great deal of land that was still unincorporated, and the county had a full-fledged planning department with planning commissioners, the Board of Supervisors, and a planning department, and they were issuing zoning and land use on unincorporated parts of the area that were going to eventually annex into the city. And it was my concern that a lot of times their zoning decisions weren't going to be compatible with San Jose's general plan. So we started a joint city-county planning committee with 2 members of the Board of Supervisors, 2 members of the County Planning Commission, 2 members of the City Planning Commission, and 2 council members, plus the staff, so that we could talk about the surrounding areas that the county was looking at to zone, and they would get requests for zoning and sometimes grant it. And geez, if it wasn't compatible with our general plan, eventually we'd annex something that didn't really fit. So that was a problem we were trying to solve in the land use and zoning area.
We still have a big difference between jobs and housing. So some of these other communities, like Santa Clara especially, Cupertino, seem to have done better with employment. Could San Jose have done a better job of that in the 60s?
We probably could have, and there again, that goes back to zoning, but they were very aggressive, and my hat's off to them. But we ended up—
Those other cities.
Yes,
yeah.
we ended up with a lot of residential growth, which is costly, expensive for the city to accommodate, but nevertheless, it kept coming, and we kept trying to handle it, and we were able to do it. We had to build in those days 280, Highway 85, and Highway 87, and we had freeway agreements with Ronald Reagan and the state of California, where the city would acquire the land, but the state's responsibility was to build the freeways. So we had to go out and acquire land for 280, 85, and 87 freeways, and then wait for the state to build the freeways, which sometimes took a long time.
Yeah.
But that's just one facet of it. We also were expanding our airports. We were rapidly, and we were expanding our wastewater treatment plant, which is a critical feature in any growth. We caught a break, I'll have to admit, because the canneries that were paying a substantial part of the expansion of our wastewater treatment plant eventually left the area. And when they left the area, they left us with the increased capacity that they had paid for. They had to move over to the valley where the fruit and the vegetables were, because the food processing industry in the Santa Clara Valley just went away.
Yeah.
And then another part of the infrastructure, it was clearing the area in the downtown. I mean, we had a lot of buildings that were built here in the 1880s and the 1890s, and then in the early 1900s, and a lot of them had to be condemned for various reasons and had to be acquired through redevelopment process. The land had to be cleared so you could see the activity we've got growing in downtown today. So that all had to be done, and we had to try to protect. We started the protection of the Guadalupe River Park in those days because we were dealing with the Army Corps of Engineers, and they think in terms of a concrete culvert through downtown San Jose. And we wanted a river park that was natural, so we had to work with the county and the Army Corps of Engineers to keep that river park, precious river park, while we were rebuilding the whole downtown. So it was a lot of things going on. I tried also to get City Hall relocated downtown during those years.
Yeah.
The City Hall was originally downtown, of course, and then moved out in the 40s or 50s out to near the county building complex. And we had all this action starting in downtown, and I thought that if we could, and we talked to the County Board of Supervisors about purchasing San Jose City Hall, because it's located right next to the county building. And we were going to take the money from that purchase and go downtown and build a city hall right across from the Center for the Performing Arts on Almaden Boulevard, where the Civic Auditorium is located. And the disappointment comes when, because it was a physical asset of the city, it required a voter approval. And when we put that on the ballot, I think a combination of things, maybe because we had moved out there just a few years earlier, a lot of people's mind, but the ballot wording was, shall the city hall remain in its current location? And here we were running around promoting, yes, move the city hall, yes, move the city hall downtown. And to this day, I think a lot of people went into the ballot and voted yes, thinking they were moving San Jose down. But anyway, it all worked out because City Hall came back downtown anyway.
Eventually.
But it could have happened years ago.
Yeah, too bad, too bad. So 1971, you decided not to run for a second term of office. Norm Mineta succeeded you.
Right.
Why did you decide not to run again?
Well, back to our family business, it was growing. My father was getting stretched pretty thin. We had opened several locations in Southern California. He was spending a lot of time down there. And I just felt that he needed me back in the business. And so I walked away from City Hall, in 1971.
1973, we had a vacancy for city manager.
Yes.
Norm Mineta was the mayor. He was kind of your protege because you helped get him appointed to the council. When you were elected mayor, he filled the vacant seat that you had occupied. But Norm and the council picked somebody from outside. What do you think happened there? Why not you?
Well, first of all, I just left City Hall a few years earlier.
A couple of years.
And I don't know that I was, I don't know, you say maybe I was seriously considered. I don't know that. I never talked with Norm about it, frankly. It was sort of flattering, I guess, that several members of the council thought that I would be a good city manager, but they picked Ted Tedesco, who I had worked with later at the Chamber of Commerce. We were talking economic development, convention visitor bureau build up, that sort of thing. So I worked with Ted over the years, and he was a good professional city manager. I think they made the right pick.
So final question. You were the mayor, first directly elected mayor. A lot of people are talking about shifting San Jose from a council manager form of government with a mayor to a strong mayor form of government. What do you think about that idea, strong mayor form of government for the city of San Jose?
As long as you have the right mayor.
Well, that's the tricky part.
It could work. It's an increased responsibility. The mayor now has some budget say-so, which has evolved, and the whole concept of the mayor has evolved from when I was elected 50 years ago until today, and I think it's a natural evolution. It'll probably come as the city grows. More and more people will come into San Jose that have come from a city where they experienced a strong mayor form of government, and they may feel more comfortable with it. Yeah.
People do look to mayors for leaders.
Sure.
Leadership. And you were one of our leaders. So, Ron James, thanks very much for being with us today.
Thank
really
you.
Appreciate it. Next month, we'll be back with more election coverage. Meanwhile, you can catch up on previous shows on our website at creatvsj.org or on YouTube by searching for CreaTV San Jose. And you can let us know what you think about our show and suggest future topics or guests by email at valleypolitics@creatvsj.org, on Twitter at @valley_politics, and by following us on Facebook. And now that's all, folks. Thanks for watching Valley Politics. See you next time.